The News 4 Rundown starts now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the News 4 Rundown. I'm Un Yang. It's Wednesday, May 6th. Here's a look at some of the stories we're working for you tonight. Coming up, the president and several Republican lawmakers continue their push for funding for a brand new White House ballroom. But there are concerns over who will foot the bill. Ted Oberg and the News 4 I team is looking into calls for transparency during the process. Plus, from caregiver to convicted felon, the au pair at the center of a deadly love triangle may be trying to sell her story, setting the stage for a first-of-its-kind case in Virginia. Then we're taking a trip down the back roads of West Virginia to the origin story of musical legends asleep at the wheel. How the group is getting ready to celebrate more than 50 years of music. All right, first, though, we are dodging raindrops tonight. Here's a live look at Storm Team 4 radar as a few showers move through our region right now. But how long will we need to keep our umbrellas out? Let's check in with Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Doug Kammerer, who's tracking that for us tonight. What are you looking at, Doug?
Well, tracking showers that are moving through right now after the showers we saw earlier this morning. We've had a little bit of a break, but now showers developing again as a boundary begins to make its way on through the area. We'll see more showers overnight out there towards Rockville. Nice evening. Temperature-wise, we're sitting at 70 degrees right now, so temperatures aren't the issue. 72 Richmond, 63 in Hagerstown. The issue is the fact that look at the air behind this, much cooler air, cold front working its way on through the area. And out ahead of that cold front, we're seeing some showers, a lot of cloud cover, and more rain down to the south and west. This is all going to try to work its way our way, but we already have showers moving back in across the area. Look at the boundary right here from areas around Frederick County, Damascus, Mount area, in towards Poolsville, up towards Urbana and Clarksville, and then right on down towards areas around Chantilly, Centerville, right around Dulles, and then follow this back to the west where we're seeing some heavier showers in towards Fauquier County and Rappahannock, and then farther to the west as all of this continues to move through. So inside the city, probably within the next hour or so, we'll be seeing some of those showers coming on through here. So a few more showers in spots, more rain overnight tonight, especially from D.C. to the south. I'll take you hour by hour coming up. A cool day tomorrow. Temperatures well below average. And then Friday looking pretty good, but tracking Mother's Day weekend. And there are rain chances for both days this weekend. We'll talk about when those happen coming up in just a bit.
All right, we'll see you then. Doug, thank you. It is a White House project that continues to raise big questions. President Trump's proposed ballroom may now cost taxpayers more than $1 billion as some GOP senators push for security upgrades to the East Wing modernization project. That as two other Republican lawmakers are backing bills to authorize the project after the shooting at the Correspondents' Dinner, though only one measure would pay for it with taxpayer dollars. The News 4 I team has previously reported on concerns about the project. Ted Oberg has the latest tonight.
Boy, what happened at the Correspondents' Dinner certainly changed this conversation. For months, the ballroom has faced legal challenges from a nonprofit saying the whole thing needs congressional approval. Well, now Congress is taking up the issue while also potentially upping the cost of this project the president said wouldn't cost taxpayers a dime. But we found that's not the only concern with how this project could potentially be paid for. Within hours of this chaotic scene at the Washington Hilton, President Trump made the case it never would have happened inside his proposed 1,000-seat ballroom at the White House.
We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it.
Construction on the ballroom continues today despite some legal setbacks in a suit a nonprofit brought to stop the project unless it receives congressional approval.
But if this is not a wake-up call, what would be?
Now, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina is behind a bill that would authorize the project, funding it with $400 million taxpayer dollars.
And I'd like to vote as soon as possible to accelerate what America needs.
Kentucky Republican Rand Paul unveiled a bill that would also authorize the project while letting private donors who've already given millions pick up the tab. And just this week, Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Republican Chuck Grassley of Iowa announced a $1 billion plan to fund security elements of the East Wing modernization.
I think the threshold question is there a legitimate national security concern that demands that we have a ballroom? If there is, then American taxpayers, rather than private companies, should be paying for it.
Donald Sherman is the head of the watchdog group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. The I-Team previously talked to him about his concern over allowing private donors, many of whom are unnamed, to donate to the president's ballroom project.
That's why we're here, to celebrate you, because you've given tremendous amounts of money to see a ballroom built.
Months ago, President Trump said he'd already raised more than $350 million for the ballroom project, funded from billionaires and corporate donors, including Comcast, the parent company of NBC Universal, which owns this station.
Private companies have paid this money in fealty to the president, and we should know why they paid it.
If in a moment of incredible bipartisan cooperation, Congress somehow passes a bill to authorize and expend the money for this ballroom, what do you suspect happens to the hundreds of millions of dollars that corporate interests have already given for this construction?
Again, I have no idea, and that's part of the problem.
What happens to all those private donations?
Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren recently voiced that same concern on the Senate floor.
If Trump is using his ballroom to facilitate a giant pay-to-play scheme, then the American people deserve to know.
Senator Graham says under his $400 million legislation, private donations can be used.
But I think they should be used for buying China and stuff like that.
Even if the money doesn't go to the ballroom, but goes to some other worthy cause, defined by whomever defines that. Is that okay?
No. The public needs to understand, particularly because the president has continually sought to solicit this money, who the money is coming from and what it is ultimately going to. My view is that it should go back to the companies that provided it, but the public needs to know where it went and who's controlling where it goes.
Thanks to Ted Oberg for that report tonight. The Trust for Historic Preservation is suing to stop the ballroom for lack of congressional approval. The News 4 I-team asked the Trust if any of these measures would satisfy their concern. So far, no response. The nonprofit accepting private donations for the project did not respond to the I-team's questions about what happens to that money if Congress pays. Regardless, even with the ballroom, there is no guarantee that independent events like the Correspondents' Dinner would ever be held there. The News 4 Rundown will be right back after this break. But first, let's check back in with Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Doug Kammerer.
And those showers right now making their way in towards parts of Fairfax County, just to the south of areas like Herndon, over toward Chantilly and Centerville, right along 66. A rough go of things there. More showers to the north. I'm tracking all of these as they move on through and showing you what to expect when you wake up tomorrow morning. See you back here in a minute.
The au pair at the center of a deadly love triangle fielding calls from producers behind bars. So, can she profit from sharing her story after she's been convicted of a crime? A surprising answer and potential new legal fight in a story that you'll see only on News 4.
The au pair who had an affair with her boss and helped scheme to kill his wife and a stranger may have a good chance of selling her story, but the law limits whether she can cash in. Juliana Perez Magales testified about trying to reach a streaming deal in Hollywood. Tonight, film and legal experts tell News 4's Erica Gonzalez how in demand her story is and how reaching a deal could put her in the courtroom again.
From caregiver to convicted felon, now the au pair at the center of a deadly love triangle just might sell her story.
Some people, I would say cellmates that talked to me about it, they were more, I would say more smart about it, I guess, and telling me to negotiate. And
in that televised testimony, Juliana Perez Magalhães told jurors she was fielding calls from producers from behind bars.
So they were thinking about $10,000, which would be around $55,000 in our money. Helps and is good, but I want to negotiate. I want more than this because if I sign the contract, I end up losing other opportunities to make more money.
Can she legally in the state of Virginia quite possibly profit from telling her story after she's been convicted of a crime?
Well, as of right now, the answer to that question would be yes.
The details of the Northern Virginia au pair affair case captured headlines. Prosecutors say Brendan Banfield, a federal agent, had an affair with the family's au pair and plotted with her to kill his wife. They used a fetish website to catfish a stranger to the family home, trying to frame him with the wife's murder, and killed him too. Now, 3 years later, the salacious suburban drama could make its way to some of streaming's biggest names.
These stories have become so valuable and people really want them.
Experts tell News4 the au pair story is likely in high demand in Hollywood as interest in true crime grows. But longtime prosecutor Brian Porter says Juliana may not know the funds she's working to get may not be hers to keep.
There is a provision in Virginia law that is proverbially known as the Son of Sam law that could prohibit her from profiting off of any kind of media deal. If the Commonwealth Attorney's Office files a motion under the provisions of the Son of Sam law, and if a judge finds good cause to enact an injunction against her, then basically any money that she would receive as a result of any media deal would be placed into an escrow account.
Funds could go to the victims' families, court costs, and lawyer fees. However, any streaming deal Juliana reaches could set off a first-of-its-kind case in Virginia. Son of Sam laws are named after the 1970s serial killer David Berkowitz, who called himself the Son of Sam. The idea is simple. Criminals shouldn't profit from their crimes. No book deals, no movie rights. But that runs into a bigger issue, freedom of speech. In New York, that tension went all the way to the Supreme Court in a case tied to the book that inspired the movie Goodfellas about mob associate Henry Hill.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
The state tried to seize the book's profits under its Son of Sam law. The Supreme Court said no, but the law went too far and violated the First Amendment. Then and now, viewers can't get enough of stories with people's lives touched by crime.
True crime is the absolute rocket to the top, most popular category in documentary right now.
Patricia Ofterheide is an American University professor who has spent 4 decades studying documentaries and says filmmakers have to draw a clear line between the truth and truth made for streaming.
Documentaries make an incredibly strong, clear promise to viewers. They promise that they're going to tell them something that's true. If they're not making that promise, they are another genre.
So, could Juliana really reach a streaming deal?
This would have been 10 years ago. I would have said there's zero chance she's getting paid. There's zero chance she has any type of approvals. Now the landscape has really changed.
Hollywood lawyer Lisa Califf has worked on a number of true crime projects.
Making a Murderer. I worked on an HBO series called Burden of Proof and Telemarketers.
Califf says not only could she get a deal, Juliana may have some creative control too.
Usually a compromise will be like, well, you have an opportunity to review the cuts, and maybe sometimes there's an approval for factual accuracy. Like if we got something really wrong here, we'll correct it.
And as you watch true crime shows, whether it's this one or countless others, the prosecutor we spoke with leaves us with this one reminder.
Every single one of those true crime stories involves real human beings, and a lot of them have gone through some very tragic circumstances. And I really would like just humanity in its totality to keep that in mind.
We reached out to Juliana Perez-Magalhães, her defense attorney, and Netflix about a potential streaming deal and did not hear back. And Fairfax County prosecutors didn't comment on what they'll do if Juliana does reach a media deal. Magalhães remains in prison, serving a 10-year sentence for manslaughter. All right, we definitely have to get to the weather tonight. There have been some changes, and that's why you are here with us, giving us an update on the situation on the rain. Doug, is it going to be a problem tonight?
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing. I mean, I know we got the Nats game going on right now. That game could be a delay because of the rain that's going to be making its way through. And if you've got any plans over the next hour or two, we got some rain coming in. That's our tower cam looking off towards Reston. You can see the tower and buildings there off in the distance in Reston. Boy, has that changed over the last 10 to 15 years. Right now, though, the rain making its way our way. Temperature-wise, we're still mild, 70 degrees, a little bit of wind, not nearly as much wind as we saw earlier when we saw those 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gusts. Temperatures area-wide all in the 60s to low 70s. So we're still mild, but even though we have a cold front moving our way, and we will see that colder air move through later tonight. Here's the rain currently. You see those showers, that line of showers making its way across our area right now, about to make their way and already making their way towards areas like Reston and over towards Centerville. Nothing around the district just yet. The Beltway is dry, but I expect these showers to move through the Beltway probably within the next half hour to an hour. hour or so. You see some of the heavier rain right now back along Route 50 in towards areas like Centerville, over towards areas of Gainesville, and then back into parts of Warrenton, around Fauquier County, and farther to the south and west. So you can see this train of moisture just working its way on through, and we'll continue to see that moving into areas like Fairfax County, like Manassas, coming our way as well. Farther to the north, we're seeing those showers right along a line, including Mount Airy to Damascus, back up towards I-70, in towards areas around Frederick, and they'll move down towards Aspen Hill, Laytonsville, down towards Montgomery Village over the next hour or so as well. Now, the wider picture showing even more rain down to the south. Look at all the rain down to the south that's trying to work its way up. Now, it's going to move along that boundary, so most of it will stay south of D.C. So if you live in Northern Virginia, especially closer to I-95 and Southern Maryland, I think you folks have the best chance to see some of that rain overnight. The wider picture showing all the cloud cover, also showing the severe weather down to the south. All of these boxes, we've got severe thunderstorm warnings. We've got tornado watches. Tornado watches, by the way, stretch from Atlanta all the way back towards the areas around New Orleans. So this is a big storm. For us, we're not talking severe weather. However, can't rule out an isolated thunderstorm. This is 8 o'clock. You notice that what's happening, a couple of showers moving on through. Watch the overnight. Watch the 11 o'clock. We're seeing the showers move through, and then some of the heaviest showers right down into southern Maryland. May even wake you up tonight if you're going to be asleep, say 1, 2 o'clock. I hope you are. By 7 a.m., though, notice we got some sunshine there and a better-looking Thursday now. I'm going for a high temperature tomorrow into the 60s, going for a high of 66 tomorrow. Mix of sun and clouds, 69 degrees on Friday, 72 Saturday, 78 Sunday. Mother's Day's forecast looking good early. No issues for brunch. Nice and warm, actually, with temps in the upper 70s, and then a better chance of showers after about 4 o'clock. So for Mother's Day, that's not looking too bad. And I don't know why I've got that forecast in there for you, but let me just go through the whole 10-day forecast just to make sure everybody knows what's happening as we head our way in towards next week as well. We see those numbers below average all the way through next week, but there's 180 in the forecast.
I see it. Way on Friday. We could have a fantastic Friday, right?
We could.
Okay, that'll be great.
Let's hope.
Thank you, Doug. For nearly 60 years, they've been playing their unique style of Texas swing to audiences around the world. And for the past 50-plus years, they've been based in Texas. But the band Asleep at the Wheel actually had their start right here, playing clubs in D.C. and living in Paw Paw, West Virginia. The band is releasing a documentary series chronicling their decades on the road. Our Mark Seagraves caught up with the band's founder in a story you'll only see here on News 4.
Ray Benson is in a reflective mood these days.
Beware of stormy nights, neon lights, dogs that bite.
He spent the past 56 years on the road with his band Asleep at the Wheel, winning 10 Grammys, recording with superstars like Willie Nelson, and performing around the world. And while that road eventually led Benson and the band to Austin, Texas, Asleep at the Wheel started right here in D.C. Benson remembers the band's very first gig, opening for Alice Cooper and Hot Tuna at L'Enfant Plaza.
We played and it was, we were horrible, but they loved us.
Asleep at the Wheel started playing clubs like the Child Herald, Tammany Hall, the Bayou, and Emergency in Georgetown.
The Emergency was our home thing, and that was next to the Biograph Theater there. Emmylou Harris would come see us at the Emergency. It was the greatest. I mean, you know, Georgetown was popping.
While the band was making a name for themselves in D.C., they were living about 60 miles away in Paw Paw, West Virginia, in this forgotten farmhouse.
We really thought we were going to live in Paw Paw, you know, had a farm. That's what we wanted. We're going to make $25,000 so that we can buy this farm. We thought we were going to stay in West Virginia, be farmers and live off the land and then play music on the weekend.
Benson spoke with us at House of Musical Traditions in Tacoma Park. The store, like Benson, got their start decades ago in West Virginia. Benson recalls those early days in the 1970s were tough. Sometimes there was nothing to eat and nowhere to sleep.
Let me tell you, we were broke and hungry. I remember sleeping in the back of my pickup truck parked over by Watergate.
Benson and his son are producing a documentary series about the band entitled The Wild and Wandering Trip of Asleep at the Wheel. A few years ago, as part of the series, Benson went back to that farmhouse in Paw Paw, West Virginia.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the actual outhouse where Lucky Oceans thought up the name Sleep at the Wheel.
Benson is the only original member still in the band and does about 80 shows a year, with no plans on slowing down.
I'm fine. My voice and my fingers, as long as they're working, I'll do it. My band's all under 40 right now. One thing I know, true love will see.
Asleep at the Wheel plays tomorrow night at the Birchmere in Alexandria and later this month at Ram's Head in Annapolis. The documentary is available at the band's website. With Ray Benson, Mark Seagraves, News 4.
The News 4 Rundown will be right back. Here's a look at what we have coming up.
If you've ever gone to a Fairfax County park and enjoyed the scenic views or the fresh air, you have a local scientist to thank for that.
Very interesting, very busy, but I love it.
Ahead on News 4, I'm sitting down with the woman responsible for conserving more than 400 parks in our area. Next.
This May, News 4 is honoring Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We had the pleasure of hosting several talented AANHPI artists here at the station today for a special celebration. The performers included the Lucky 8 K-pop dance group, the Stepping Stones Korean drum team, and several classical Chinese musicians. Also talented award-winning calligrapher Li Shenwang also shared his talents with us, writing our names in Mandarin. We are thankful for the time everyone took to share their talents and their gifts with us. It was a wonderful celebration. If you've ever gone to a park in Fairfax County and enjoyed the fresh air or the scenic views, you have a local Indian American scientist to thank for that. Torsha Bhattacharya is the Director of Stewardship for the Fairfax County Park Authority. Our Amy Cho caught up with her about her passion for preserving the outdoors for generations to come.
So we are here at the Eleanor C. Lawrence Park.
Imagine trying to care for a park that's the size of about 500 football fields.
You see the Walney House.
Now imagine doing that times 400 parks. That's what Torsha Bhattacharya does every day.
No 2 hour in a day and no 2 day in a week is same for me. It just keeps it very interesting, very busy. But I love it.
Bhattacharya is the Director of Stewardship for the Fairfax County Park Authority. Her job is to make sure the parks stay healthy for years to come. That includes saving the natural resources, getting rid of invasive species, and adding more parks and trails. In many ways, it's a dream job for a little girl who grew up playing outside.
I think it comes from my childhood, like growing up in India. Play was always like such an integral part. I mean, it was, you have to study, yes, but play is like the next best thing.
Bhattacharya has a PhD in transportation planning. She and her team often survey the community to find out what they'd like to see at their local parks.
There are people who don't have access to parks and don't have access to these public amenities that I might have taken for granted. I became just so passionate about making sure that every single person, regardless of their gender, their income, their age, ability, or race, they have access to good open spaces.
And though the hours can be long, Bhattacharya says her passion for the job only continues to bloom.
There is no loud claps or ribbon cutting, like the trees are not going to pat me on my back. When I see people enjoying, I played a teeny tiny part in them being able to enjoy just the shade of the tree, all the bluebells, or whatever it is.
Bhattacharya is also in charge of overseeing the archaeology work at the parks. They often find artifacts that are thousands of years old and have to figure out the best way to preserve everything. What a cool job. Thanks to Amy Cho for that story. And that is going to do it for the News 4 Rundown for this Wednesday night. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to join us tonight for News 4 at 11. For now, I'm Eun Yang. Have a great night, everyone.